Okay, oh well. I'll just go ahead and hit go live and keep these on. It's getting warm in here. Whew. Hello. We are going to be live here in a second with those of you ready to talk with me and Bettymaya Foott. I've got my gaming headsets on right now, so I feel like I'm going to do some live Twitch streaming and play some video games. But nope, instead, we're hanging out and talking Milky Way. So we're live right now. We're just about to go fully live with our guest. We are going to be starting here in about, 3 minutes and 14 seconds? Not so bad. Hey, everybody. So now that the stream is live, go ahead and help me out, and let's get some shares on this. Do some live Twitch streaming and play some video. Go ahead and turn off that audio so we don't have a duplicate of audio when I come to that desktop. That was a close call. Almost did that again. Last time that broke the entire stream, so I'm not going to let that happen again. So, hey, everybody, welcome in. Hope that you're there. Let me know where you're coming from right now, as we've got Bettymaya coming up here shortly. Let's see. Check. I'm going to go to Facebook. That's what I was going to do. I'm going to Facebook, and I am setting up the share right now. Go to Photog Adventures. My phone, my computer just said OneDrive. Sorry. Close. That's fine. I don't need OneDrive servers. I don't imagine I do. Okay, cool. It was something else. Let's see. I'm going to Facebook. Where are you now? All right, there you are. Let's switch over to Photog Adventures so I can post this about Bettymaya Foott right now. Live now. Bettymaya Foott. Death to light pollution. That's what I'll say. Oh, it looks like you're muted. Sweet. So you can unmute whenever you're ready, Bettymaya. Or do I call you Bettymaya the whole time, or Betty? Just
yeah,
Betty.
Bettymaya is good.
Bettymaya, sweet, awesome. So you can stay unmuted. They won't hear you until I drop you over. Actually, say something real quick. Let me see if that's recording. Say something.
Hi.
Hey,
How's
they
the
can
audio
hear
today?
you. Hey, they
Yay.
can hear you. Actually.
Nice.
That's new. I mean, fixing the desktop audio, I guess, caused me to put it back on this one scene that doesn't usually have it. So feel free to talk all you want, but they are listening to you.
Hi, everyone.
We're about to go live in 1 hour and 20 minutes. We're going to go live in 1 minute and 22 seconds. So we'll be live here momentarily. It looks like none of my most talkative guests are arriving right now. We've got 7 quiet ones or 9 quiet ones just before we get started. Whew.
Aaron, how do I get my aunt to find this?
Okay, you can go to my YouTube channel. Just go to Photog, go to Aaron King on YouTube, or she can Google search Aaron King YouTube, and she'll see me pretty quick.
Okay, perfect.
Otherwise, I have a link directly for you if you want that. I'm just posting it right now on my Facebook post. Hey, Ron's saying something. Ron, how's it going? Howdy. We're going into Milky Way Wednesday right after this. I hope some of my Milky Way Wednesday crowd will be here. Where's your crowd, Bettymaya? Do you have a big crowd?
I mean, I think a lot of my crowd was there on Monday. There might be some folks tuning in today.
I hope that they'll forgive us for Monday going crazy. I hope they'll come right back. Have you mentioned anything to them that you're both going live right now? Do you want to post it somewhere on your social?
Oh, sure. Post it on social.
Help us out. Post
Great
on your
idea.
Social. And Ron,
Wait, yeah.
if
Can you pop the link in the chat? And I
yeah,
can
you got it. Absolutely. Let's see. Let me go back to full screen, so the chat window back up, and here is the link, and you can you can give that to anyone you need.
Okay.
So that's us right now.
Perfect.
Double checking, I clicked on it and it opened up us, and it probably is going to be multiple audio files. Okay, whew, we're good. Let me listen to it for a second.
Wait, yeah, can you pop the link in the chat? Hello.
Sweet, I am listening. Oh, I seem a little dark on the screen. I think I need to bring up my ISO on the camera, or I need to bring up my light. Although it's looking pretty normal. Maybe it was just that moment there. So we're just now going live. We're about to go live. So everybody who's with me right now, before I click the go live button, I need your help. Hey, Aaron from Moser, Oregon. Greetings, Bettymaya and IDA from Oregon. Or from IDA, Oregon. Yes, awesome. Michael McKeague. So it looks like we're about to go live. We have a few people. Help me out here with going on to I'm going to show you guys this page before we go live. You're going to see that I'm up here on YouTube, on my Facebook. I just shared it. Share it on your Facebook too if you can. Let's let everyone know that Bettymaya is live with us right now. Because of the change of schedule and everything, I think people are getting thrown off on, wait, was it Monday? Was it Wednesday? And they're all showing up. But Milky Way Wednesday starts here in an hour, so we have to go right on schedule today. So help me out with sharing that, and we'll get going with our our fun episode tonight. So if you're ready, Betty Maya, I'm going to bring you in and we'll get
Yeah.
it started. So, hey everybody, welcome in the night tonight. It is Milky Way Wednesday again. I wanted to say Milky Way Monday on Monday when we just began the show, but things just came crashing down and made it impossible for me to do. But here we are. I'm Aaron King with Photog Adventures, and tonight we're interviewing Betty Maya Foott and hanging out with her and talking about light pollution, how we can be advocates against light pollution and advocates in our cities and our communities that are around us and help them avoid light pollution, as well as just celebrate some awesome time lapses and images that Betty Maya has captured. So with no further ado, let's get rolling with this and bring in our guest. I'm going to pull down this screen so it's not blocking your face, get rid of our chat, and here we go. Welcome in, Betty Maya. I hope we can hear you.
Hi, everyone. Can
We're
you all
here.
hear me today?
Looks like
Yeah.
you are. I can see it. I can see it. Oh my gosh. Hey, it's Jay again, and he's bragging once again that he's in the sunny Bahamas. Jay, you lucky
Hi,
dog.
Jay.
Are you ever going home, Jay, or is that your home? Because if that's your home, that's fine, but I'm jealous. So Dave says, howdy, Marin. How chow's chat? Welcome, everybody. And Paolo gave us a big wave. So Paolo's coming from Italy. He might be in LA still, but Paolo's my Italian friend. I love Paolo. So, Betty Maya. We were just getting rolling into it last week when I killed your audio 4 times, took off things, the tech broke down. Let's just start over and introduce yourself as the Director of Engagement for the International Dark Sky Association. And I was talking about how it started with a park in southern Utah called Natural Bridges National Monument. Take us through the begin of the organization. How long ago did it start, and why am I so lucky to be in the state that it started in?
Yeah. Well, hi, everyone. Thank you, Aaron, for having me today. It's an honor to be here, and I'm glad everyone can hear me. So yeah, am working my dream job as the Director of Engagement for the International Dark Sky Association. So don't believe your college advisor when they tell you that you will not get a job in dark skies. 'Cause I've had like 4, and I'm incredibly lucky, so the International Dark Sky Association was started in 1988 by 2 different folks. One was the director of the Kitt Peak National Observatory right outside of Tucson, and the other one was actually a family physician.
Oh,
And they both kind of came together because they understood the impacts of light on the night sky and astronomy, as well as the impacts of light on human health and the environment, and all of the ways that light affects things that we don't really think about. It's kind of an unseen issue because we can't really touch it, you can't feel it, but it is an incredibly powerful thing. As photographers, and especially night photographers, know light is incredibly powerful, right? Like one little light in
right.
your shot is going to blow up. Even a crescent moon is super bright. So I'm happy to be talking to astrophotographers today about light and how powerful it is. But we actually got started in Tucson, where IDA is headquartered, and we still have an office there, although a lot of us work remotely now after COVID happened.
Oh yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
So you're,
But so
but
the first International Dark Sky Park was Natural Bridges State
okay,
National Park.
but it's
And
not
but the
in.
first International Dark Sky place was Flagstaff,
Oh, the place,
International International Dark Community.
designation. Okay,
Yes. Mhm.
so Arizona gets the credit for being the first, and that's where the
Yeah.
headquarters are.
Yes.
All right, I
But
relinquish
I'm from
to
Utah, so
Arizona.
Utah has the most international dark sky places on
Dang
any
right.
state level around the world. So we'll give Utah a shout out.
You know, and honestly, and with this whole presentation we're doing tonight, everybody, we're going to be bringing in discussions about the Nightscaper conference coming up, bringing up her photography, and talking about the light pollution. And, you know, you just mentioned Utah, and I want to intersperse all this discussion with your photography so we can have a lot of fun about just you personally as a photographer. So do you mind if I start off with just a picture? I'd like to show off one of my favorites of yours that is a single image of the delicate arch image.
Great,
Does that sound good? Sweet.
Beautiful.
I am going to pull this up, and it's going to be right over her face, and everyone can enjoy this. I am going to take off. Oh, you know what? I'm going to kill the chat screen. That works. That works right there. The chat can work around it. So looking at this image, Betty Maya, we see an awesome delicate arch composition that has a, I don't know, tracked, regular, single. How did you capture this image?
So that image was taken during the blue hour, and if you look closely, you can actually see the shadow of the setting crescent moon kind of cresting along
Oh,
the sandstone there.
yeah.
Yeah, that was the only set of photos I could actually use because once it got super dark, people were just shining their light all over Delicate Arch, and that was the only time I actually had
Classic.
where I could capture the arch without artificial light on it. And I think that photo that was taken with my Canon 5D Mark IV and a Sigma 50 millimeter at 1.4, I think, but I think I had it at 1.8 or 2.
Awesome.
And I took about 10 or 15 shots and then I stacked them in Starry Landscape Stacker in order to kind of get rid of any noise that may have come from the longer exposures, and then took that and edited it in Lightroom.
So then this isn't actually tracked. It's just one of those really clean, really sharp images that are single and then stacked to make even better clarity on the core.
Exactly. Yeah, I actually have only used a tracker one time. And to me, I'd rather have trailing in my stars than trailing in my foreground. And I'm not a huge Photoshop girl, so I don't love to merge out the foreground and merge it in with the sky. I really like to just kind of capture it in one shot if possible. So that's
Yeah.
usually what I try to do. And I have that one actually on my wall right
Oh,
here.
yeah, there it was.
Yeah, it's one of my favorites.
So then when did you start doing your own photography in Milky Way?
So I actually started doing astrophotography when I got my first job in the field of dark skies. I was working for Utah State Parks. Right
Mm.
after I graduated, I got an internship working on dark sky park applications across the state of Utah. We actually started 12 different dark sky park applications in
Oh
different
my
state
gosh.
parks across Utah. So we would rent one of the state parks like excursion vehicles and drive all over the state and count all the lights, measure all the darkness. And part of the application process is taking horizon photography to document the sky glow domes. And if for people who don't know, sky glow is the brightening of the horizon above populated areas that you'll see that diminishes the view of the night sky. It's caused
Yeah.
by misdirected light that's scattering throughout the atmosphere, and it makes the light appear to come from the sky itself, although it really is coming from lights on the ground. And so I just used a state parks camera, and one of the park rangers, Derek Valentinson, some of you may know him, at Dinosaur, actually, a national park, taught me how to focus on a star. And that was kind of it for me. We were doing the panorama, we started north and then headed south. And once I hit the southern Milky Way in the summer outside of Vernal, it was actually at Steinecker State Park. I was just floored. I was amazed that like that's
Right?
real, that moment when you just finally see that you can do this and you don't even have to
Yes.
have a nice camera. Uh,
Oh, I know. And that feeling of when you capture, even out of focus and maybe not a good exposure yet, but in the back of your screen, you actually see on the LCD screen all that data and detail. You're like, whoa, whoa, whoa. You're seeing it
right?
better than you ever have, but also how much stuff shows up on the back of the camera. It's something that
Exactly.
everyone I've ever met who's done it has just instantly fallen in love. It's incredible.
Totally. That's addictive from there. I like couldn't stop. So it was the first thing I ever went into debt for was a camera. I was like, I'm buying
Yeah.
the nice one. And
Not a
I
car,
got the
not
Canon
college, but a
6D and I
camera.
still use it.
That's awesome. So I'm looking at this picture, and you mentioned light pollution bloom, and I just thought about something that hurt my heart back in the 2019 Nightscaper event where you came and presented, and you showed us the progress from 2016 until then, how the light pollution around Moab had gotten so egregious.
Yeah.
Tell us about that. Why is it that with these new lights, we can't keep the light pollution down? What are we doing wrong?
Yeah, well, a lot of it just has to do with people who make decisions about lighting are not really well educated about the technical aspects of lighting. So, with the LED revolution, most towns were using high pressure sodium lighting before
Yeah.
the advent of LEDs. And high pressure sodium is super warm lighting, right? It's really low wavelength, it's amber. And that kind of light doesn't scatter as far in the atmosphere. when we think about why the sky is blue during the day, it's because of a phenomenon known as Rayleigh scattering, which is the wavelength of blue light scatters the easiest throughout our atmosphere, and that's why our sky is blue. So, what happened with LEDs is we moved from this warm, lower wavelength light to this bright blue light that
Yeah.
scatters so much further in our atmosphere, as well as LED
Yikes.
lights are way more efficient than high pressure sodium. So, people were switching out like watt for watt,
Uh-oh.
and when you
Okay.
do that, you're lighting it up so much brighter than what you had originally with high pressure sodium. So there's a lot of peril in LEDs, and a lot of cities have done it wrong. But there is also promise in LEDs. That light is incredibly directional. It can be controlled. You can dim it. You can direct it exactly where you want it. So LED can be used in a way that protects the night sky. And Tucson is probably the best example of this. We switched from high pressure sodium
Really?
to warm amber LEDs. They were 3000 Kelvin and they're dimmed to 50% after midnight. And you could count on, I think, two hands the amount of people who actually like complained about the brightness of the lights that it
Yeah.
was
Yeah, and
in
I can
a
imagine
city
they
of 2
complain all the
million
time.
people.
Oh,
So
wow. Yeah. So what I'm thinking right now is I see these places go up with these new parking lots around new hotels or new facilities or new anything. And I think, ah, crap. I wasn't there early enough to be like, before they purchased all the money
yeah.
into those lights and then got something better with hoods and everything, something to make a better output for the sky, but still light what they're trying to light below. And I'm thinking, crap, I missed it. But honestly, if I wanted to be there in time, I wouldn't really know how and what I should say. So I have two questions for you. You
Okay.
may know the answers for them. If you don't, just reject it. First question, I think you might not know the answer. When you look at those lights that they add in parking lots, do you have any idea what it would really actually cost a city to replace things like that and go all around replacement with better LEDs and hoods? Is it that expensive?
So it depends on what they installed in the first place,
Oh, I see.
because a lot of lights, a lot of new LED lights do have the capacity to easily add dimming to them. If they have like a little node on the top of them, a lot of times that tells you that they're controllable. So if they are controllable, they can dim them pretty much with their phone. Like the facilities person can just decide how bright to have the.
Oh,
But if they
yes.
just installed kind of the cheap, really bright white LEDs, that could be very expensive to fix. And that's why I would say I'm going to guess at your second question, which
Yeah.
is probably the best way to stop that from happening in the future is to work with your community to enact a dark sky friendly lighting ordinance. So just like there's noise ordinances, like if somebody's having a loud party next door, you can call and have them
Okay.
kind of turn it down and stop it. It's the same with the lighting ordinance, right? A lot of communities have ordinances about how light can be used in the community because you don't want your neighbor's light shining into your window all night, right? Or shining up into the
No.
night sky unnecessarily. And we can do lighting ordinances in a way that only new construction, right? So people are grandfathered in, and new construction has to
That's the
comply
question I had
with
for you.
lighting ordinances.
So
Yeah.
only new construction, because like the existing stuff, you can't put an ordinance out that would necessarily tell them to get rid of it. You lost money.
You can, and that's what you have to do to become an international dark sky community. And that's why our international dark sky communities
Oh,
are
okay. I
kind of
got to bring
small
this up.
rural areas, that don't, because it's really, really hard to enforce 100% residential and 100% city and county and municipal lighting that is fully dark sky friendly. But I think IDA has kind of let perfect be the enemy of the good for quite a while. And we really need to be focusing on actionable steps that even large cities can take. And we've seen it in Pittsburgh. They enacted a dark sky friendly lighting ordinance in the city of Pittsburgh. And they will actually be replacing 35,000 streetlights in the city to be dark sky friendly. So it's not just something for small rural towns.
So you bring up something that we wanted to talk about tonight anyway, and I'm pulling it up on the screen now, and I've worked it out where they can see you and the screen, and you should be able to see what I'm hovering over.
I do see it, yes.
But this IDA Dark Sky Advocate Network that people can join, what is it, and how much are we asking from people if they join it? Is this going to be a huge hassle?
Well, thanks, Aaron, for bringing this up. And you said Mike McKeague is here. Hi, Mike. Mike is one of our chapter leaders. So
That's why he said that's why he said IDA Oregon, because he represents IDA out there.
He does. Yeah,
Oh,
he is
Mike.
our chapter leader there in Oregon. So shout out to Mike, and he'll be at the conference as well. So we're really looking forward to having him there. But so this is kind of my baby, my program with IDA is the Dark Sky Advocate Network. And I like to think of it as kind of a global group of dark sky friends around the world, because it's really easy to feel like you're the only person in the world, or the only person in your city, the only person in your community that cares about this subject, right? It's still a little bit on the fringes. But when I first joined and first learned about IDA, I looked up this map and I reached out to the pin nearest me, and then felt like I had a friend in the dark sky world. So, if you scroll down, you can see we have people all over the world that are officially designated. To get a pin on the map, you have to be an IDA chapter, which is kind of a group of people working on community organizing in their area for dark sky friendly lighting. Or you can be a delegate, which is an individual volunteer on behalf of IDA that is identified as a point of contact. And then
it's really
beyond
cool.
that, though, so that you have to apply for that, right? But
so like Eric Gomez and let's say Joshua Ivan Munoz, these guys in Mexico, they applied to be a representative or at least an advocate in that area.
So yeah, they applied to be delegates. So you don't actually have to apply to be an advocate at all. So that's the easy part, is to join the Advocate Network. We just have a set of a few training videos for you to watch that I think are pretty interesting. My intern put them together this year. So they're new. There's like music to them. They're not super boring. It used to be like a 1-hour Zoom presentation from me, which wasn't that fun. So we updated it. And now, you just have to watch a couple of videos to kind of give you an overlay of what IDA is, what we do, our programs, how you can get involved. And then you're invited. We have monthly advocate action meetings where we talk about a specific goal that everyone can do and participate in their community. This quarter, we're really focusing on getting International Dark Sky Week proclamations around the world, which is a really easy way to just have your community proclaim Dark Sky Week. And it's non-binding. It's a super great way to just meet your local representatives so that you have that connection when you go to talk to them about lighting ordinances or about making those changes in your community. And we also have other monthly meetings where we just learn about a particularly interesting subject in light pollution every month. We also have a global networking platform where people can introduce themselves to our community, ask questions, directly message IDA staff, myself, and every other advocate around the world. So it's just a really good way to kind of connect with the movement and to learn from the hive mind and everybody around the world who is doing this and who can share their incredible experience with you.
Oh, that's awesome. I have questions that are coming up, and I hope you guys in the audience will have questions for us too. If you do, hit me up with an all caps question so I don't miss it. I want to mention what Teresa Rice says before it moves off of the chat right here. She said, oh wait, it's now moved on my mind. There it is. I see it. Don't know if it's changed in the last 10 years, but Bainbridge Island, where I worked, adopted a lighting ordinance based on Dark Sky's recommendations, and she helped work on that ordinance. So hopefully that hasn't changed. So props out to Teresa Rice.
Nice work, Teresa. Thank you for that.
Awesome. 10 years ago she was doing it. Sweet. Awesome. So
yeah, you're ahead of the game, Teresa.
Seriously. So what I want to do is I want to share some clips.
so that's typically what I do for time lapses is I just set up my camera and then throw my pocket pad on the ground and fall asleep until the morning and hope my battery lasts as long as I want it to. In this one, yeah, I actually set my tripod up in the water. I put on some rubber boots and put my tripod in the mucky mud. And for this, I also used the Syrup Genie Mini, which kind of after each shot, it slowly rotates the camera to the right. So you get that panning motion. And it's a super tiny little hockey puck, basically, that you just put on your tripod. And it's probably the easiest way to get motion in time lapses that I have found to date.
Oh, yeah. So that situation is how you powered it too, because it has a battery life long enough for that length.
Yeah, it works. You just got to make sure you charge it, but
Right
it
on.
definitely lasts a while.
So then at the beginning of this, my audio was off. I just want to let everyone know that this is her capture coming from an area. Actually, I didn't say the area. Specifically, I said I wouldn't say the area. But this shot, you're seeing it. What else went on here? If you look at this time lapse, do you remember what happened that night? How did the whole adventure go capturing this time lapse? Was it easy, like you said? You just turned it on and fell asleep watching the stars?
Yeah, I mean, so this was I was with a friend and we just kind of drove around at night looking for a spot in Colorado. I'll give that away. We were in Colorado.
Awesome.
And I particularly love reflections, and I think they add so much to the scene. And so we were kind of looking for a body of water. We were driving around in the middle of the night and made it to this spot. And I think this was early season Milky Way. So it was pretty late at night. And we kind of dredged through a lot of mud and sluck to find this area. And yeah, after this, we actually went and set up another time lapse in another area, and there was an incredible amount of fog. And so it's just crazy how in one spot and like half a mile away in a different spot, the conditions can be completely different because this stayed clear basically all night, whereas the other spot we were it felt like we were in Lord of the Rings with the amount of fog that we had there. And I've had to get pretty used to the idea of my camera falling into the water or somebody stealing it. And I feel like it hasn't happened yet, knock on wood, but
Yeah, no
I
kidding.
feel like to get time lapses, you just kind of got to leave your camera out there and you got to get comfortable with just letting the world take its course. And if it's meant to be, it'll be. And if you're meant to lose your camera, you'll lose it. But I haven't
Yeah.
lost it yet. And I have insurance on my cameras. So I would recommend everyone do that as well.
Yeah, that feeling of letting go of it and just not touching the tripod for a while and feeling that gust of wind a little bit later going, oh, did that move my camera? I don't know. It's probably fine. Oh, it's probably fine.
Oh, there's been so many times when I've been camping, especially on the river. I'll like hike up to this weird cliff and like leave my camera and then wake up to raindrops on my face and then 3 a.m. just run like run in the middle of the night to
Yeah.
grab it, and it
You're
is
like, hurry.
the worst feeling, but usually it's still got something cool on it at
Yeah,
the
I
end.
mean, you're losing your gear of the syrup and the camera body if it all gets drenched. So, yeah, that's a heartbreaking
Yeah.
feeling. But for
I mean,
everyone who,
that's why I don't have a Sony. I mean, people love Sonys, but I hear that they're really sensitive. I shoot Canon and I feel like they are pretty weatherproof in
oh,
my
yeah.
experience. I have taken them on some, like, dropped them in the sand. They've gotten rained on, snowed on. And when I was shooting at the VLA recently and I left a camera out under one of the antennas, and the ladder on the bottom of the antenna, when the dish turned, struck my tripod and put
No.
my camera face down into the gravel. And it was fine. And so was my lens. So I'm a
Wow, the
huge
lens
proponent
too?
of Canon. Yeah, it was a Sigma 50 millimeter lens. So Sigma and
Brilliant.
Canon have been great to me.
So I want to point out two things for the people watching right now. If you're new to doing your own time lapses, there's two huge benefits that I can show you about time lapses here. Well, I'll say one huge benefit of a time lapse in a night like this night that she's having, as well as something I want to point out about light pollution and clouds. So as you're sitting there and you're in a place like this where Bettymaya was, and as the night starts out, she has only a few clouds, but they are over the core, and you might get discouraged about starting a shot. She started this time lapse with clouds over the core, probably seeing the horizon with some openings and hoping for the best. But as you can see, there's constant cloud movement going over the Milky Way. As you're watching the Milky Way time lapse, pay attention in this next loop as you see the time lapse of the Milky Way going beyond the clouds, and your eyes only at one spot really never see the core. There's only one section of the video that you lose track of the core. The rest, you're actually watching the core the whole way through. And that's the brilliant part about an inclement weather night that has some visibility on stars. If you get your camera out and do a time lapse, you end up having this fantastic opportunity of seeing what is there, because as it does this like interpolation and animation through the sky, your eyes kind of fill in the middle of the frame. So you see key frames of the core, and the rest are all just animated in your brain, and they connect everything. It's so fantastic using a time lapse when you have clouds ruining your shot. So have the gear for a time lapse. You can always switch to it. The second thing is, look at how the light pollution is. When the clouds are covering everything, you can see yellow all the way up to the top of the frame almost, in some places even stronger. So then you say, oh, the light pollution out there is too bright and too strong, it would block my core. But at the beginning of the time lapse, you notice that you can't really even make out the light pollution. It's not as strong or even ruining of the image whatsoever. So when you have light pollution and there just ends up being just a tiny bit of clouds or smoke, then that light pollution gets stretched, as it paints the canvas of the cloud. And so you can be close to some light pollution if you have clear weather, and you also got to be careful when you're in a place that's usually dark, like this area I am at outside of Zion National Park near Hurricane. That light pollution of Hurricane stretches onto my core if I have a little bit of cloud, but if I have no cloud, I don't see it at all. So don't panic too often when you see in the light pollution maps that there's light pollution there, because you probably can shoot right through it without a big deal. Now, that said, let's go back into tackling the challenge of light pollution, Bettymaya. You were telling us about this, and Henry Weeda asked us, he's like, hey, so what's the link? And so everybody, I put the link in the chat. It is darksky.org, our work, well, it's our hyphen work, and then forward slash grassroots hyphen advocacy. And the link is right here again. So if you go to darksky.org, you can come right into this, I'm assuming, from the main page simply enough, right?
Yeah, it's under Take Action.
Take Action.
And then join the Advocate Network.
I got your face off the screen, but they could hear you. Sweet. So join the Advocate Network. So if you guys go to IDA or darksky.org, you will see all of this information here. And I say all of us do it. I feel a little disappointed that I don't zoom in on Provo and see Aaron King's name on here. So I'm wondering, how do I become a delegate? What's the extent of being an advocate is watching those videos, but a delegate, what's the process for that?
So a delegate is like, if you are doing something, you want to be a local point of contact for somebody, in Provo, right? They're like, hey, how do we change our lighting ordinance? Hey, can you help us have a star event or a night sky festival or a party, or can we do some education in the school, right? If you want to be somebody that people will look to and reach out to about dark sky issues, that is a great reason to be a delegate in your local area. Or if you don't want a chapter or don't have a chapter. So Aaron, what I would recommend for you is to actually get involved with our IDEA Utah chapter. So we have a statewide chapter in Utah. A lot of them are in the Salt Lake area. And they do
IDEA Utah. Is this the green tab I just found down here?
Yep. Yeah, it is.
Actually, I'm not sharing your screen on the right side. Let me help you out so you can see what I'm sharing. So you're going to see what we're looking at so that you can point to things easier. I'm going to do that real quick for you. So I was pointing at this green section down here, IDEA Utah. Is that a chapter? Okay.
Yes,
cool.
That is a chapter. So they have a website. There's an email you can get involved with. It's actually not Joseph Dane anymore. I need to update that. But Alan Eastman is our IDEA Utah chapter leader, and he's great. They have a whole bunch of different committees you can join. They've been working on a dark sky license plate for Utah, which is really exciting. So they do a monthly newsletter to the Utah legislators about kind of what's going on in dark skies and why they should be involved and know what's going on and be supportive of the efforts. So that's a really easy way to get involved, is to just reach out to your local chapter, to reach out to anyone who may be a nearby delegate or chapter on this map to wherever you are.
Sweet. So everybody right here, I know Teresa Rice said Texas a bit ago, so I'm going to put it in here, IDA Texas. If you're from Texas, just click on these and you'll find some contact information, websites, and emails, and get involved, become an advocate for us, and let's get going. And I'm hoping to become a delegate as well. I want to see my name on Provo. That'll be awesome.
Yeah, you definitely should, Aaron.
So before I go off of this page, I want to talk about something that's for all of us and not just Bettymaya, Nightscaper.com. Everybody, if you have not already received your tickets for the Nightscaper Conference 2023, where Bettymaya and I will be teaching, make sure you join us. Get out there to the website. I'm going to pull this down so you can see more of it. Get out there to the website right now and reserve your spot. There's a lot of hotels there, but they're not going to be filled up. They're not going to stay empty forever. We're filling them up really fast, and so you're going to want to make sure you get a hotel. Otherwise, you can Kathy and I car camp. Kathy car camps with her dogs. I car camp with my iPad. We always bring our babies, and we enjoy hanging out there. So the Nightscaper Conference is in May 18th through 21st. So if you want to get down to a beautiful location of Utah with a lot of dark skies, you can go to Kanab and hang out for a week with a bunch of other Milky Way nerds and do photography, learn everything you need to know about how to do it, and practice it immediately. You know how you go to a class and then you can't actually do it that night, you have to wait and you hope in the future you'll do it? This is the kind of photography class that you're learning and you're practicing same day, and it's fantastic. So we got some questions from the group asking about your gear that you use for your time lapse. They really loved them. You said Syrup Genie, right?
Yeah, SYR Syrup Genie Mini.
So Syrup Genie Mini, if you guys want to see what that looks like, I'm just going to go for an image real quick so you guys can see it. Syrup Genie Mini, something like this.
Yeah, the hockey puck one, that one. Yep.
Right on. So the hockey puck. This isn't an ad for Syrup Genie, so I'll not say it much anymore, but you guys should
I want them to sponsor me. I will caution everyone. I've had like 3 different ones break on me, but it's the best thing I've found so far. So you just gotta keep buying them. They're super lightweight. They fit in your backpack really easily if you're hiking to your spot where you're going to be shooting. Nothing else has worked as well for me.
Right on. So another 2 questions coming up. Chris Woodruff asked, what settings were used? Do you recall anything about that one time lapse? I'm going to pop into it real quick so we can see it.
Yeah, the one from Colorado. I think that I was actually using my Rokinon 24 millimeter f1.4, and I usually stop it down 1 or 2 stops just to get rid of any coma, which is that, the little football flare of light you'll get in bright planets or stars on the sides of your images. And then I typically shoot at like ISO 5000, and I don't go over 20 seconds on a 24 millimeter. So I think that's my typical kind of go-to settings for
right on.
lens.
We're going to be showing some more of your time lapses as we go through this, and so I'll hold off on that. But I want to bring back the Nightscaper Conference question because Jack Fusco just joined us again. He was here on Monday. Welcome in, Jack. He's wondering what your topic is. What's your topic in Nightscaper this year?
So I have 2 topics. My go-to, like Save the Stars. I always get on a soapbox about light pollution, and I'm really excited for my second talk, which will be on the ethics of light painting, not light pollution. The ethics of light painting.
Okay.
Which should be an interesting one because I remember like the night photography ethics. Somebody like got up and was like yelling about drones last year. So we're gonna try to keep it like nobody getting up and yelling at each other in the ethics of light painting talk. But I do hope people bring all of their opinions and ideas and that it's a lively discussion.
We are all excited about the Utah license plate too. That would be freaking awesome.
Oh, good.
So the question comes from Mike, and I'm wondering if I have a good answer for him because as I'm going around, often I car camp at gas stations with other truckers. Not like I'm in their bed with them. I'm just next to the big trucks. But we are hanging out in places that work. I was in Coral Pink Sand Dunes, Mike. I know that they don't probably want you to, so I won't recommend that. But I did sleep there last time. No, I mean, it's something that may have happened. It's a fictional story, fictitious story. We're talking about Bob asked, is your camera an Astro modified camera?
So I do have an Astro modified camera. Yeah, the time lapse that you saw was not taken with an Astro modified camera. I just got one last year from Spencer's Camera. I got
Yes.
the Canon R6. That's it, right? R6.
Yeah, I think
Uh,
so. Yeah, it is.
I got the Canon R6 with the visible and H alpha mod, and I love it so much. It is my favorite camera. It's definitely the one. I have three cameras, and if I'm just gonna bring one out, that's the one I bring out first.
Sweet. I'm going to pull up your Dead Horse Point time lapse just because it's so good. I'm going to go pull ahead and pull that up so everyone can see it real quick. So, this time lapse over at Dead Horse Point, you've got this area nearby Moab, very simple to do. And one thing I love about it is you've got the transition of a moon rising on you and showing the landscape. Can you tell us about what went well and what could have gone better out of this time lapse?
Yeah, so one of my favorite things to do is to use natural light to illuminate the foreground. As you can tell, I'm going to be talking about light painting. Um, but to me, like the reveal is something that is just so cool. And we've all experienced it when we're out shooting, right? We're out and it's super, super dark and we're just, scared. I don't know. I get scared. We're scared when we're standing alone in the darkness
Yep, I get
and then
scared.
the moon starts to rise and it is just like a breath of fresh air and I feel safe, and I'm like, I always call the moon the night sun because it's so bright. Um, but to me, that it's my favorite thing to play with, and I love to kind of have that mystery of like, what are you looking at in the foreground, and then to have the moon rise, and also to just have that dynamic lighting on all of the foreground, right? So if you're doing low level lighting, you can only kind of light one area or one aspect of your foreground, but when you're using the moon, you are getting light hundreds of miles away on those cliffs. And to me, that
Yeah.
dynamic shadow lighting in the entire foreground is such a fun thing to play with. Um,
It's so good. I mean, Chris Whiting agrees with me. He's like, I love that moonlight reveal. I love how it goes from like an underexposed, kind of noisy foreground to all of a sudden it's pristine, crystal clear. Did you have to ramp your settings at all, or did you have one setting all throughout?
I didn't know this was one setting again, I think 20 seconds,
Right
ISO,
on.
probably like 5,000,
So you
2.0,
nailed it.
24. Thank you.
So one thing about the car camping, everybody, Teresa Rice points it out that you can check Camp Pendium, like camping, Camp Pendium for legal car camping sites. Also, there's a lot of overnight gas stations or truck stops that will give you permission to stay. Just don't do it without permission. She says, please. She's probably talking to me because I show up around 3 a.m. and I'm like, oh boy, where am I going to sleep? I'm going to die. I'm going to pull over here and sleep with these guys. And I never talk to anyone. Um, and looks like I'm gonna go ahead and show this one. For some reason, Chris, the YouTube gods did not want your comment to show up. So he says BLM land is good for dispersed camping too. Oh, he said cramping instead of camping. So YouTube is like, uh-oh, what's he talking about? So they censored you, buddy. So Jack says that's a really beautiful time lapse sequence. It really is. And for the simplicity of one setting, start it. You turn it with your syrup puck that you have, that genie, and boom. It's it. You've got a terrific time lapse with just revealing Dead Horse Point down below, and you're not even looking at Dead Horse Point at first. You're looking off to the left, and then you go off to the right and capture that whole horseshoe of the river down there, and it's fantastic. I love this shot. Definitely one that I will be copying from you. I got to make this myself.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. So going back into another of your time lapses, I'm going to show it off right now. Actually, it's this vertical one from Canyonlands. This is the same area. I'm going to get rid of Dead Horse Point in the background. Tell us about this one.
So this one like just means a lot to me because like Thelma and Louise is near and dear to my heart. So this is Thelma and Louise Point in Moab, which is also where I grew up. So anywhere around Moab is kind of my favorite place to shoot because it just really speaks to my soul. But I was just so incredibly amazed at this time lapse at how still this section of the river was, and to see the
Yeah,
reflection of all of the stars in the river almost as a mirror from so high up
right.
was such an incredible experience. Just being out there on that point, kind of, that iconic Thelma and Louise point, imagining that part of the scene in the movie, just the feeling of those strong women and kind of being a woman in astrophotography, this shot means a lot to me specifically. And looking at just seeing the mountains in the background, as well as the really interesting features of the modeled red cliffs and the pointy, like, I think that thing has a name, but I can't remember it, the little pointy red cliff.
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
it's just one of my favorite shots I've ever taken. And it was actually one of the first vertical time lapses I've ever done. And, Instagram kind of pushed me to do that with the whole reel craze. But I think to me, I really like I usually tend to shoot vertically a lot. So doing a vertical time lapse kind of gives you that option to switch things up a little bit.
Yeah, and this is loved by everybody. I'm bringing up their chat while we watch this just so that they can see. Like Gabe is like, "Oh my gosh, the star reflection is stellar in this one." And I think you
Oh,
said
thank you,
pardon the
Gabe.
pun. I hope you said Gabe. I hope you said pardon the pun. And then everyone is just loving it. And I'm looking at that thinking, one of my best experiences ever out for Milky Way photography was in the Salt Flats, where the water conditions just cooperated.
Yeah.
And when you've got a cooperation like this, you may not capture it like this ever again, even if you return. So you got to savor that. It's just awesome.
Yes. And this, I'll actually point out at this time lapse. I edited it during last year's Nightscaper conference.
Really?
Yeah. Ben, oh my gosh, what is Ben's last name? I can't even remember now.
Ben. I don't know which Ben you mean.
Ben, you know which Ben I
I do
mean.
know which Ben. Why
He
can't I
gave
even
a
think of
talk.
it? Um,
Jack knows his name. Jack was there
yeah,
with
Jack,
me
tell
as
us who
well.
Ben is.
Jack
I keep
helped
forgetting
me.
Ben.
But they taught me how to use LR time lapse because kind of the color temperature of the scene changed so dramatically with the clouds coming in and out. I really couldn't just I've been really bad at learning how to do time lapses professionally, and I would just sync all my edits across Lightroom and export it in the slideshow module that I downloaded from this weird online thing. And so I'll
That's
just
not
say that
unprofessional. That's awesome.
but I'll say that I learned at the Nightscaper conference how to use LR time lapse, how to take that and bring it into After Effects and then export it in After Effects for the
Yeah.
ratio that I wanted for the reel with the people that I met at the Nightscaper conference.
And they're
And
saying it's Ben Canales, it looks like.
yes, that's
Ben
who it is.
Canales.
Yes, Ben Canales. Yeah,
So you're
he
saying that
definitely really
at the
helped me.
Nightscaper conference, you actually learned from Ben Canales how to pull an LR time lapse and go into After Effects and did all of that. And that's an example of something that you learned right there last year.
That is the exact time lapse that I used. Yeah, in Canab. I edited that in Canab.
Oh man, awesome. So that is a huge testimony for everyone to hear about why you should get out to the Nightscaper conference. You got to get going. If you haven't already got your tickets, make sure you join us this year. We're going to be in Kanab this year, but who knows where next year. And this area has tons of cool spots to go see, tons of great locations to get really dark skies and see places that a lot of photographers actually don't take a ton of pictures of. So you're not going to get that same Mesa Arch, Delicate Arch, Milky Way. You're going to be something more unique in the Kanab area. So get out there and join us for this year, and maybe you can learn LR time lapse too. I don't remember if Ben Canales is actually going to be in this one coming up. Let me look at the speakers. So looking at the speakers that are
I don't
coming.
think he is, but I would be happy to pass on my LR time lapse knowledge that I learned at Nightscaper to anyone who's interested.
Absolutely. Oh, look, there's Betty Maya right there on the website. There she is. Fantastic. So let's go into the last things we want to talk about, the night sky and the IDA Dark Sky organization and everybody who's hanging out with us right now. We have a hard stop right about 5 minutes before 7 so that I can transition into doing my Milky Way Wednesday, where I'm teaching the anatomy of the Milky Way. So if you want to hang out on my YouTube channel, you'll have to go to the actual YouTube channel to see that it's coming up. The link is different than the one you're on right now, so you have to click over to it. But at 7 p.m., I'm starting that, doing an hour presentation there. So that's when we're going to have to get stopped at 6:55 so I can go live there. So be ready for that, as well as I'm going to bring in Betty Maya. If you have any questions, I just made her tiny. Let's go ahead and get back huge zoom. So the questions that everyone might have, hit me with all caps so that we don't miss out on them. Thomas asks, how long does it take for you to collect your shots for these time lapses? Is it usually an all-night adventure?
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, you can do time lapses that aren't all night, but they're never as good. And what I've learned is like I'll set up a shot and then I'll look somewhere else and be like, oh shoot, that composition might be way better. Don't change it. Don't ever change it. Your first one's always the best one. Set it up, set it and forget it. Lie down, look at the stars and let it go as long as you can. I mean, so usually you'll do 24 frames per second. So, you got to think about if you're doing a 20 or 30-second exposure, it does take quite a long time to get 1 second, and the longer the time lapse, the better. So I tend to just try to set it and leave it for as long as possible. But at least you're gonna want to be exposing for at least 1 or 2 hours to get a really good time lapse.
All right, sweet. Nanette says super Milky Ways. I just love your images. Truly excellent. So there's some
Thank you.
props to you there from Nanette.
Yeah.
And Chris Whiting says, going to miss your part two. Oh, no, he's talking to me. Dinner for 21-year-old son. That's okay, Chris. Enjoy that. We'll see you next week on Milky Way Wednesday. I got my regulars that are so loyal that they actually tell me sorry I'm late when they show up. So I
I've
love
never
those
been
guys.
invited to Milky Way Wednesday,
You
Aaron. I
never
didn't know
have?
you had this.
I do have these gold envelopes that I ship out worldwide, and you never got one yet, huh?
The
Oh.
golden ticket has not made it to me
Oh, well,
yet.
you're welcome. Every Wednesday night at 7 p.m., I do Milky Way Wednesday here. We're live
Very cool.
streaming and nerding out on Milky Way.
I
Rob
love
says,
it.
do you run more than one camera sometimes during your outings?
Always.
You
Yeah. I
always do.
always do. Yeah. Usually, I mean, it's hard to get out, right? It's hard to get out when the moon is perfect, it's not cloudy, you're not freezing, you have a night off, you can sleep in the next day. So I always tend to put all of my cameras out whenever I can because that just maximizes the amount of data that you have to work with. And if one of your shots doesn't work out, one of your other ones probably will.
Mm-hmm.
So especially, or if I'm on, like, I actually got hired to do photography this year. And so I was like, okay, I'm super nervous. I'm going to do all three of my
Yeah.
cameras for sure because I want at least one of these to look good. So definitely, I usually do more than one camera when I'm out shooting.
Right on. So, in the final seconds of our show, minutes of our show, people are starting to say thank you, thank you, thank you to you. I just want to ask one final question that maybe is going to be too off the cuff for you to know the answer to. So, be prepared to tell me, no way, Aaron, I'm not answering that. What's the one tech or advancement or breakthrough or frustrating technology that's coming that is like the biggest news about light pollution and the world today? Is there something recent that we don't maybe know about yet that we should know about that is either going to fix light pollution or make it worse?
So that's a great question. There is a lot of talk kind of about smart lighting, right?
Smart
So
lighting.
lighting that adjusts to the amount of moonlight, the amount of snow reflection, the amount of people walking by, like occupancy sensors. There's like Li-Fi. There's all of this smart connected lighting that's kind of coming to the forefront of the future of lighting. And to me, I am like both hopeful and a little
Uh-oh.
bit pessimistic about it
Uh-oh.
because in our society, we've thought that we can engineer our way out of so many problems, right? We can engineer our way out of climate change. We can engineer our way out of a lot of these things, and then a lot of those solutions actually end up kind of just making the problem worse.
Can. Yeah.
So to me, I don't think that the issue of light pollution is going to be solved with technology. I think it's going to be solved with a cultural understanding of the importance and the power of light and coming together in order to use less of it and to celebrate the darkness and to celebrate the natural night sky. So I think it really comes down to psychology and human understanding and human connection to the natural night sky. But to me, that's there, right? I've never met a single person who doesn't love the stars. There's nobody
Right.
I've met who's like, oh, I hate the stars. Yeah,
Like
brighten
they
up
see the
that
Milky Way, they're
sky.
like, meh, yeah, okay.
That's not cool. Like we're innately connected to the night sky. The
Agreed.
stars are how we navigated. The stars are how we track time as humans for so long. And I think that's still important to all of us in the core of our being. And I think that will bring us through to tackle this challenge.
I agree 100%. I think it is so much in our hearts and souls to savor what we're seeing up there, and we all recognize it as a huge negative when something we've done has blocked our view of it. And it's such a feeling of being at home. I've been with people who are all religions around the world, atheist and not, and every one of us, we stare up at the dark and then really bright center of the core and go, wow. And it's just there's a draw, there's a zen, there's a peace, there's a familiarity with it that just feels like home, and I just absolutely love it. And we got some comments. Thomas says, I love seeing the Air Force Base in Florida that has lighting that doesn't interfere with the nesting sea turtles. It helps us night photographers too. That's a good point. I saw on your website talking about helping nature. How does the light pollution or helping with light pollution help or bother nature?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I mean, you can think about adding artificial light to a nocturnal habitat as equivalent as bulldozing trees in a rainforest, right? So many animals, plant species are adapted to a 24-hour cycle of light and dark that when they don't have that, it throws everything off.
Oh my gosh.
Even trees grow less well under artificial light because they think the days are longer. When they're under a street light, a tree thinks that the daylight is longer, so it doesn't shed its leaf, it doesn't lose its chlorophyll, and it has a shorter lifespan than trees that are grown in natural darkness. And thinking about the Air Force Base, that's actually really cool. There's one in San Antonio as well that has super good dark sky friendly lighting practices because they need dark skies to practice their night vision goggle training.
Mm.
Uh, and the White Sands Air Force Base in New Mexico needs dark skies because they're looking to detect potentially Earth impacting asteroids. So like there's so many things that light pollution impacts that we don't really think about. Um, but of course, the environment is a huge one. Migrating birds use the night sky to navigate, and when they're in light pollution, they get lost. They're also attracted to light and they fly directly into buildings. Up to 1 billion birds die per year due to collisions with buildings. Hatchling sea turtles, of course, is a classic one. They go towards the light because they are trying to find the water. And historically, the moon
Oh.
and the stars reflecting in the ocean was the brightest part of their field of vision. But nowadays, they turn around, and only 1 in 1,000, up to 1 in 10,000 of baby sea turtles actually make it to adulthood. So really, you pull on the string of light pollution, and it is attached to everything in our environment in the world.
That's so much more than I even realize. Let's end this on a comment from Michael McKeague and a question for you, coming from one of the guests here on the show. Mike says, we have no problem enlisting support for night sky protection. The wave is rising. Our challenge right now is keeping up. And so we got to have more of us doing the legwork. So then I'm looking at the question that comes from Chris Whiting, and it might be a reiteration. You might have a different point here, but he says, hey, what is the best thing we can do as Joe Public to promote the dark sky?
So thank you for that question. My favorite thing about light pollution is that the solutions are entirely scalable,
Hmm.
right? So, Joe Public, you can look at the lighting on your own house and you can make sure that your lighting is pointed down, it's warm, it's on a timer, it's on a motion sensor, it's not shooting into your neighbor's window, it's not shooting up into the night sky. You can work with your HOA. We have HOA guidelines for dark sky friendly lighting practices. You can work with your city. You can get a lighting ordinance enacted in your city. You can work with your state. There's states that have light pollution ordinances across the state. New Mexico was the first one to ever do that. Federally, we should be doing more work around the entire world federally to get light pollution recognized as a Clean Air Act, a Clean Sky Act. That's what we need. We need something like that to really push this into the broader public view. And then, of course, we're also working with the United Nations. There's the Dark and Quiet Skies movement. There's a lot of things going on with COP15 and other things in biodiversity that we can work on even in an international level. So I think the best thing for people to do is to think about what your strengths are and where you have connections and where you are able to make a difference and then to make that difference. And IDA is here to help you figure out what that is, right? So join the Advocate Network, come talk to me, come talk to other advocates and volunteers around the world that can help you figure out where you can be the most impactful on this issue.
That's awesome, Bettymaya. Thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight, and appreciate you doing this twice as we tried once on
Yeah.
Monday. Everybody, thank you for coming back and being here. I hope that all of you are looking at this link right now if you haven't already signed up, so you can hang out with me and Bettymaya in person out there in Kanab. Bettymaya, is there any place that we can go to see your time lapse? Are you posting on social media anywhere?
Yeah, Instagram's probably the best one. It's at bettymaya.foot. I also have a website. I don't think my time lapses are on there, but if people want to support my photography, bettymayafoot.com is my website. I do have prints available, and I do kind of personal one-on-one or small group Milky Way photography instruction as well. And those are just by appointment. If people are interested, we can figure something out. So yeah, but follow me on Instagram because I would really love to be Instagram famous.
You bet. I'd love to get you there. Well, thanks so
Thank you.
much. We have a lot of people who are saying, thank you, thank you, thank you, Bettymaya. Thank you, Bettymaya. Thank you. I'll have to watch the recap. I got here late. Thanks so much, everybody. This has been great. I need to get going for our live stream. Bettymaya needs to get going. All of you, if you want to join me again, come out here and come back to the YouTube channel. You'll see that I am presenting a anatomy of the winter Milky Way right here. And that's coming up next here on the same channel. Just make sure you go over to that. Bettymaya, thanks again, everybody. You guys have a great night. I appreciate you hanging out with me. I'm Aaron King with Photog Adventures. We'll be at the Nightscaper conference. I hope you will be there too. And we'll be at some place probably different next year. So if you want to see Kanab and the Nightscaper conference, you got to get it now before we run out of places to car camp even. So thanks all. Have a great night, and we'll see you
Thank you.
maybe in the next hour. Thanks, Bettymaya. See
Bye
y'all.
bye.